In case you were wondering if this show could get worse, it does.
Yes.
Yes.
We haven't even gotten into episode 4 yet. We're still on episode 3. I know, you need to hurry up and make these videos.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Y'all, it is so important to hire good child actors. These 2 girls in this show, I don't know if maybe they're just not good actresses, or are we blaming the writing, the dialogue? I really don't know. I feel bad for them. There's some awkward lines between them, and they're the main focal point of this episode. In general, the dialogue has never been good. There's been some occasional moments of like, okay, but everybody is like just spouting exposition. The lines feel very like force-fed. Force-fed. We do a flashback with these witches. They're living in this coven on this planet in this super fortress. The witches are somehow simultaneously creepy and kind of silly. You know, at least the witches on Dathomir had like a more compelling story. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't dig witches in Star Wars because they are so overpowered. They have all these other powers that Jedi and Sith like have no idea how to even, I don't know. To me, it's just easier to think of them as like some kind of separate entity altogether. I did like Marin. I do like Marin. Marin is the Marin. She's the exception. There's some random witches just living on top of a mountain because the galaxy doesn't like them, apparently. There's no place in the galaxy for women like us. I mean, isn't the Republic in control? They shouldn't be afraid of anything. Yes, the Jedi don't want them to train children, but these witches don't seem to be especially like light side users. So if they're dark side users, yeah, maybe they should have some concern. Are the Jedi openly seeking conflict with them? No, but let's just use any excuse we can to fight the patriarchy. Also, some very strong Marxist tones here. This is why the power of many is always superior to the power of one. If you're on your own, you suck. Don't forget it.
Yes, yes.
So, it's a coven of lesbian witches, plus one dude pretending to be a woman. They just had to sneak that in there. How, may you ask, can they ever continue their population when they're just women? How? They don't seem especially technologically advanced, so I don't know if they got, you know, artificial insemination. Even then, I think you still need a man. Well, you technically have a dude there pretending to be a woman, but that would be weird, right? But I guess if you can just create kids from the Force, then, you know, problem solved.
Barely an inconvenience.
So the idea is just presented that these witches use the Force to just create these twins. Impregnating the witch leader lady, she impregnates her wife with the Force so she can carry them. And even though the woman that carries them, she's that Dathomir species with the horns, but her kids don't look nothing like her. So I don't know. I don't know. You're not the mom, lady. That line, you know, when they start arguing about, is that little encounter they have with each other. They kind of have a little argue back and forth. I carried them. I created them. Well, shoot. I guess you just trumped everything, huh? I guess this is just how you get around the whole being, you know, lesbian space witches and what, you know. Looks like women are truly the most powerful Force users in the galaxy and all the men are just playing catch up. Oh, sorry, the thread users. They're not Force users, it's the thread. I've never seen such a mishandled, poorly produced Star Wars production in the time that Disney has owned this. And no, I have not seen the holiday special. I'm sure it's trash. This is on a whole other level of incompetence. I mean, this is like close to what, a $200 million budget, and this is what we get. Where did all that money go? What did you spend it on? It makes it worse. Every time I watch Andor, I'm like, this is how you spend $200 million. Or however much it took. I think it took more than that. I also don't really appreciate the fact in this episode that they seem to try to make the Jedi seem really invasive and kind of oppressive in their reach in the galaxy. It's like, okay, guys, Jedi, they've never been perfect. The whole Star Wars universe is built around the same idea that exists in our world where people are fallible. It's the same thing. If you exist and you're some kind of humanoid creature, you're fallible. That's what Star Wars has always been. There's no perfect character. They're not perfect, but they are the good guys. We don't have to be ashamed of saying that. We don't have to be so afraid of moral absolutes. And I know, like, Star Wars has played around with these ideas of moral absolutes. Like, by logic, you have to have them, because otherwise evil is not evil. Good is not good. It's just everybody's just, oh, it's just your opinion. You can't really have any kind of meaningful discussion about good and evil if there is no objective sense of it. What did the Jedi do that was so bad that made May want to kill them? I still don't have that answer. There's another scene that really bothers me. The mother, what's her name? Asia. She's describing the Force. She's like, some call it a force and claim to use it, but we know the thread is not a power you wield. Pull the thread, change everything. It ties you to your destiny. It binds you to others. What the heck does that even mean? Is this a better explanation of the Force than what the Jedi and Sith have?
I understand nothing.
Is this somehow more, is this more enlightening? Is this more detailed? Is this more accurate of the Force? You are wielding it. You remember what Obi-Wan said? The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. You are wielding power. You are wielding the Force. When you say pulling the thread, she's wielding the thread. She's pulling the thread. It's the same freaking thing. They just copied the original explanation. It is the same thing. You're interacting with it. You are wielding it. Her little monologue here just doesn't add anything to the Star Wars lore. Doesn't. It's the most completely pointless scene. Anyways, the mother, Anesia, she just strikes me as like the most manipulative, toxic leader over and over again. She's kind of a control freak. She thinks that like her coven is superior to the Jedi. She dismisses Osha's concerns about becoming a witch. And then she actually kind of threatens the Jedi when they take control of Torben's mind. I mean, that looked pretty invasive to me. People scream about, you know, Kylo Ren invading Rey's mind, probing her mind. I'm pretty sure he didn't like completely take over her mind. I'm getting some very mixed messages here from these witches. It's only after Osha like pleads with her to let them be tested that she just relents. And she's like, okay, all right, I guess we'll do it. I'm sorry. Who's supposed to be the bad guy here? Because right now it seems like Mother Anesia. And you know what? I bet you tomorrow or at some point she's credited with 5 episodes. So maybe she does turn out to be the villain. And maybe that's the point of the show. Maybe the show is actually trying to make it like, oh, well, actually, the witches were not good. But it just seems like the mother wants to control these girls and turn them into something they don't necessarily want to be. Or at least one of them does. I mean, if that isn't a toxic, controlling mother, I don't know what it is. And maybe, I don't know, Leslie Headland has some mother issues. Here's the main problem, okay? The main problem with this episode is that it builds like a really flimsy pretext for May and Osha's motivations like later down the story. For whatever reason, one day, May just decides that the Jedi need to pay for the burning of the temple, the burning of the coven. She's the one that started the fire. At least that's what we're led to believe. Now they might change that. Maybe there's something we didn't see. Maybe the Jedi did something that we didn't get to see. Okay, well, right now, as of right now, it looks like May is completely and solely to blame for that fire and for the death of all the women that she cares about there. She also tries to kill her sister. Let's not forget about that. I don't understand how May thinks she can blame the Jedi for anything. And she's just like, she's like an evil kid. She's selfish from the start. She tries to hurt this little animal in the first scene. It's like, get some help, kid. What's wrong with you? Because you know, not long ago they're like, I love you too, I'll kill you. The psychotic sister just wants to kill her sister because she's a control freak. This fire, it turns out the most flammable material in all of Star Wars is not paper, fuel, or something that makes sense. It's bricks. It's weird. Like the fire just engulfs the whole place, kills everybody there, but it's still the Jedi's fault. Jedi Master Saul just shows up out of nowhere and saves Osha, and May just falls to her death. And I have to ask, like, how does a child survive that? Seriously, how does the child survive that? All these women in the coven died.
Dumb ways to die.
This episode tried to do so many things, and it didn't do anything well. The acting is not good, the writing is not good, the dialogue, the plot doesn't make any sense. It seems like the Jedi are the ones that are actually being kind of reasonable here. And they tried to like vilify them, make them seem like a cult and weird. And like, no, the witches are the weird ones. The Jedi seem very peaceful. The show doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know what it wants to do. It has no clear direction. It's just an absolute dumpster fire. There's no getting around it. I don't understand. I genuinely do not understand how you can mess up a show like this. Is it a lack of talent? They were given all this money and this is really the best that they could come up with. Are they overworked? I know the VFX artists are. I could deal with all the visual effects and everything. I don't think anything especially looks bad. Some people think Coruscant looks terrible, but I don't really care. It's just a quick shot of Coruscant. To me, that's such a little thing. I wonder why the acting, the writing, the directing, all this is just so, it feels very sloppy. It is of such poor quality in almost every aspect. All right, that's it. That's all I got. I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's reigniting my depression. Okay. All right. Bye.